Assalamu alaikum. Today, inshallah, I would like to give advice for those who would like to move to Hargeisa or Somalia or Somaliland or to a Muslim country, inshallah. Specifically, I'll be talking about what I know about Hargeisa, the capital of Somaliland. This is where I've been for the last 2 years. Alhamdulillah, I've worked with a lot of schools, a lot of colleges, and I think, inshallah, the advice that I'll be giving you will be quite relevant and useful. I know there's many people who've been asking me and they want to move to Hargeisa, so I will be covering this, inshallah, very briefly. Most probably, I'll be segmenting it and dividing it, covering it over a couple of videos. So first of all, I know a lot of people are moving to, for example, their home countries because they want their children to practice Islam. They want to see like their children learning the Quran, learning about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, learning about their culture and how to live, and they want their children to practice Islam and see Islam in practice. So this is something which is very important, which includes also learning about your own culture and learning about your language. So this is the number one reason why many people are moving to their homelands. Specifically, if I talk about Somalia or Somaliland, people want to move to their home countries because they want their children to learn to speak their mother tongue so they can communicate with their parents or with the other relatives in their community in general, and that will help them develop their own their identities, and they'll be able to benefit their own community and the society at large. So generally speaking, I'll be talking about inshallah education, because education, I think, it's a very important topic. And one thing that worries a lot of parents is, am I going to be able to give my children a good upbringing? Will they get the same quality of education in Africa or East Africa? So first of all, there are some benefits and there's some weaknesses that inshallah we hope to kind of fortify or fix with inshallah the tips that I'll be giving you. So first of all, I would say that there is an opportunity for the children to get good or quality education. So they will be able to do their GCSEs. I know a lot of people who are moving from UK want their children to do GCSEs or IGCSE. Well, there is an opportunity for your child after finishing his secondary education to do GCSE or IGCSE. That is done in Sheikh, which is based in Somaliland. So the Sheikh is a very nice location, and there's a school called SOS. So Somali people, they say SOS, but it's actually SOS. So that school was opened in 1949 by an Austrian philanthropist, an Austrian businessman who wanted everybody, like when he saw after the World War II that many children were becoming orphan, he wanted to make like a village where children that are orphans or children that are in need can come and learn and get good quality education. This is how it started out, and these SOS schools exist in almost more than 149 countries. So he wanted one village in every single country to educate the children that need support. So there'll be like one family. So this man, his name was Herman, and he started this, and I think he invested his own money, and then later on it expanded and it grew until now. You heard that this school is the school which is offering, the only school which is offering IGCSE examination, like as an examination center. So what children normally do, or some schools, they send their children, like a school called, there's some schools that send their students to this place to take their GCSEs, and also there's an opportunity to do the A-levels. Some people decide to send their children back to UK or to America to take the exams over there. So it's possible for you to bring your children to this country and for them to also get high quality education and to get the certificate as well. So the problems you're going to face, I'll probably divide this over a couple of videos, but one of the problems you're going to face, or the problems we have in some of the schools, although let's start with basically what's in the schools. So in the schools, there are mainly international schools. There's teachers coming from different countries, from East Africa. You got teachers coming from Kenya. You got teachers coming from Uganda. You got local teachers that are speaking to children in English, and that definitely helps. So children will be getting good education. You find that there are teachers, for example, local teachers who also are very qualified, who studied in Sudan, who studied in India, who studied in Pakistan, and bringing this international education or their qualifications back to their home countries and educating the children. So to point out one of the issues is that there will be a problem, I think, because I've been working with a lot of schools and working in management. One of the problems is English. So you'll find that your children will be going to the English class, but one thing you need to remember, that the English, it's been taught as English as the second language. And if your child has come from America or UK, then they will find what they're learning very basic and very shallow. Although in terms of writing and grammar, they will improve. And there is a lot of focus. In Africa generally, there's a lot of focus on writing. So a lot of children that move from UK or America or from the European countries, the first thing that the management realizes that their writing is very, very poor in comparison to the local children. So that's something they're going to find that they need to improve on. But in terms of speaking, you'll find maybe their vocabulary will decrease, and they won't be developing their vocabulary as they would like in back where they came from. So that would be an issue. So that you need to find ways to improve their vocabulary. And one of the weaknesses, that weakness is coming from the fact that a lot of schools don't have libraries, and even Hargeisa in Germany, there's not many local or close by libraries. There might be one or two far away. So that's a problem. So children are not reading as much to develop their vocabulary. Speaking will also be an issue, so because they're not conversing much in English. If they are, they'll be using very simple English, since they're speaking to people who are using English as a second language. So that would be a problem. But in terms of how to tackle the problem with the books and the libraries, e-books are a good option. Get your children to sign on with the local libraries back from where they came from, and to have a Kindle or for the kids to read from these books. Or you can create your own small library by working with a couple of families. So that's very important. I think that's something we need to work on in generally. And another issue is Islamic studies. So with Islamic studies in Arabic, you want your children to learn Quran, Islamic studies, Arabic, but then again you find there's a language barrier, because most of the Islamic studies teachers in the international schools, in the private schools I'm talking about, the teachers are local teachers, and there's a communication barrier. So that most of them, they don't know English, and the children that come from abroad, they're very low in terms of Islamic studies and Arabic, because the local children have learned Islamic studies from a young age. So if they've developed the Islamic studies in the Arabic, and also when the teacher translates into Somali, so they don't have a language barrier. So this is something that we need to look at and see how we can solve. And also the teaching style is quite different. So you find the teacher will just copy everything which is already in the book on the board. Teachers, the student copies that, and they just memorize the activities. It's not much. I know the government is working on how to improve the books and the curriculum. Okay, and another thing also, it's all about books in this country. So there's not many objectives or aims. There's no learning objectives that are basically covered. Most of the teachers are just focusing on finishing the books, which is, in terms of curriculum, we will be talking about curriculum. It's more or less a curriculum which is content based, just focusing on the content. So that's something that needs to be looked into, and see how we can have our children develop their Islamic studies, their Arabic and their Quran. I know most of them will be going to madrasas, but still Arabic is an issue. How to teach their children Arabic. I've been teaching Arabic for a long time, and I think gateway books are very good, because the child can use those books because it's got the English on the side that would help them to also do some self-learning. Generally speaking, what we have in some of these schools, in the international schools I'm not even talking about the local schools, because the schools divide into, I would divide them into three. There's local schools, like public schools, okay, and the quality of education there is very, very, I can say, is very low, and it's quite neglected. That's why a lot of children are being taken to private schools. And then the private schools, I'll divide them into two. The private schools which are teaching in the English, with English medium. All of them say they're teaching with English medium, but there's those who are teaching in English, but then everything, the books are written in English, but everything's translated into Somali. So really, it's taught in Somali. And the private international schools, the books are written in English, and the teachers are teaching the maths, science, and the other subjects in English, and the books are written in English and it's been taught into English, so it's not been translated except for Islamic studies and Arabic. So these are the three types of schools. You got the public schools, and then you got the private schools, which divide into two. Those are teaching by translating to Somali, and those who are teaching, but they're teaching from English, from books which are written in English, in the English language. That's why you find teachers coming from Uganda. Now we've got many teachers coming from Uganda. You've got teachers coming from Kenya, and this is a trend which has been going on and has been successful, which has been practiced by some schools, and it's been fruitful. So generally speaking, we need to think about how we can get our children to develop the skills you would expect them to develop in the where they came from, like European and American countries. So critical thinking is something which is missing, and for children to be able to do some deep thinking, because it's mainly content based here. There's no problem solving, there's no creativity. It's mainly just straightforward, just as if you will memorize the Quran. This is a normal teaching style, although there is some problem solving and some critical thinking, but not at the level that is required for a child to be able to develop and innovate new technology in the future, and to be able to lead future markets. So that's what all governments are looking for. They're looking for children who can think, or students who will be able to use independent thinking, creative thinking, and creativity, to use their creativity, and to be able to expand on what they know and build on what's already there. So if I put this in a nutshell, I can say your children would definitely benefit from coming to Hargeisa or to East Africa or Somalia, because there's opportunity for good quality education. It's not always what you see on TV, that children who are or schools which are really, really poor, and people are receiving handouts and charity. But there are schools which are which are top quality, and people are paying a lot of money for these schools. For the local people, it's expensive. For people who are coming from abroad, it will probably be cheap and within the range. So definitely don't be misguided by what you see on TV. There are many people who are benefiting. Your children will learn the culture, they will learn the language, but just some of these holes that we want to, inshallah, fix, so children do benefit and get a wholesome education. So Jazakumullah khairan. I hope in the next videos we'll be able to expand on some of these points. but this is an introduction for everybody who's been asking me, what do you think and how could we, do this, and what advice would you give us? So this is a summarization of inshallah for those who really want to get an idea of what's happening on the ground in, I could say, in Hargeisa or Somaliland generally, and probably similar in all of Somalia. So Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.